In the heart of a charged arena, under lights that cut through the dark like blades, two legends prepared to collide in a moment that felt more like destiny than sport. On one side stood Evander the real deal Holyfield, the veteran warrior whose name echoed through the corridors of boxing history with equal parts respect and disbelief. Many had doubted him, written him off, called him too old, too worn, too battle-scarred to stand before the storm that was Iron Mike Tyson. Yet as Holyfield walked through the tunnel, expression calm, eyes locked forward, there was a serenity about him, like a man who had been here before and understood the weight of the moment. The crowd roared, but he moved as if gliding through an invisible barrier, shielded by faith, discipline, and an unbreakable will forged through decades of war. Across the ring stood the force of nature himself, Mike Tyson. When the announcer spoke his name, the arena erupted like a volcano. Tyson didn't walk, he stalked, head bobbing, fists clenched, jaw tight, radiating a violent energy that could be felt even through a screen. He was the youngest heavyweight champion ever, the most feared puncher alive, a man whose very presence made opponents hesitate. Tonight, he was lean, hungry, and eager to reclaim the throne many believed had always been his by right. The referee brought them together, the final instructions delivered through a tension so thick it seemed the building held its breath. "Protect yourselves at all times," he said. The gloves touched. The fighters stepped back. In that instant, one heartbeat before combat, the world understood. This wasn't just a title fight. It was a collision of mythology, a battle between raw destruction and unwavering resilience. And as the bell sounded, the story of one of boxing's most unforgettable wars began. From the opening bell, Tyson launched forward like a missile released from its cage, ripping hooks to the body, firing right hands with thunderous intentions. His movements were explosive, head weaving, shoulders rolling, feet driving forward with predatory precision. The crowd rose with every shockwave of leather meeting flesh. This was the Tyson they remembered, fast, ferocious, and terrifying. But across from him stood a man unmoved by chaos. Holyfield didn't fold. He didn't retreat. He met Tyson head-on, answering pressure with composure, strategy, and timing. While Tyson tried to bulldoze through distance, Evander looked for small openings, slipping just enough to fire clean counters. Short right hands, stiff jabs, and sharp hooks that forced Tyson to reset. Those early exchanges revealed the true nature of the contest. Holyfield wasn't here to survive, he was here to win. Every time Tyson crashed forward, Evander smothered him, clinched intelligently, forced him off balance, and worked the inside with subtle uppercuts. When Tyson missed big, Holyfield made him pay with straight right hands down the pipe. The crowd buzzed in disbelief. Many expected Tyson to overwhelm Evander within a few rounds, yet Holyfield's strategy was unfolding like a masterclass in controlled defiance. He wasn't intimidated by Tyson's power. Instead, he used Tyson's aggression against him, displaying the wisdom of a veteran who had studied the storm and prepared to walk through it. By the end of the third and fourth rounds, subtle signs of frustration seeped into Tyson's body language. His shots were still heavy, still dangerous, but Holyfield was absorbing them with calculated discipline, rolling with punches, tying up at the right moments, pushing Tyson back, making him work harder than he wanted. The commentators began whispering what the world was slowly realizing. Holyfield was dictating the rhythm. He wasn't just surviving the early onslaught. He was weathering it, analyzing it, and planning to break Tyson down piece by piece. What had begun as Tyson's expected demolition was transforming into a war of patience, intelligence, and iron will. As the fight moved into the middle rounds, the tone shifted dramatically. Tyson, still dangerous and still throwing with ill intent, began to show the effects of Holyfield's relentless discipline. The exchanges grew harsher, the clinches more physical, and the battle of wills more visible. It wasn't Tyson walking Evander down anymore. It was Evander pushing Tyson backward, using feints, angles, and perfectly timed combinations to disrupt Mike's rhythm. The once unstoppable machine suddenly found himself being outfought, outmaneuvered, and slowly pulled into deep waters he hadn't navigated in years. A head clash, one of several, opened a cut above Tyson's eye. Blood trickled downward, not enough to stop the fight, but enough to cloud his vision and disrupt his focus. The crowd gasped at the sight of Tyson blinking, wiping, trying to regain clarity. Evander, understanding the shift, pressed forward with a champion's instinct, landing sharp right hands that snapped Tyson's head back. Holyfield's confidence grew with each exchange. He began throwing more combinations, more uppercuts, more counterhooks that shook Tyson's foundation. For the first time in years, Mike Tyson looked unsure. The fifth and sixth rounds became the turning point. Holyfield landed a right hand inside that rocked Tyson, followed by a sequence of punishing body shots that forced Mike into survival mode. Tyson fired back with explosive bursts, but they lacked the sustained intensity that had made him so feared. His pace slowed, his accuracy dipped, and his frustration became visible in clenched teeth and wild-reaching punches. Meanwhile, Holyfield looked rejuvenated, calm, fierce, and determined. Every time Tyson tried to rally, Evander answered with intelligent aggression, pushing Tyson to the ropes, battering him with combinations, and taking away the aura of invincibility that had followed Mike his entire career. By the end of round 6, the unthinkable had happened. Tyson was hurt, tired, and being pushed backward by a man the world said couldn't compete with him. The momentum had shifted. The crowd now sensed an upset brewing. The later rounds transformed from a boxing match into a test of spirit. Tyson, bruised, bleeding, and bewildered, kept charging forward with stubborn courage, but every step met resistance. Holyfield continued to apply disciplined pressure, smart pressure, walking Tyson down behind a high guard, punctuating each advance with stiff jabs and heavy right hands that snapped Mike's head back repeatedly. Tyson fired back with bursts of desperation, swinging wide hooks that Holyfield either blocked or slipped with veteran ease. As the rounds wore on, the truth became undeniable. Evander Holyfield was imposing his will. Round 9 delivered perhaps the most dramatic sequence. Tyson attempted to surge forward, looking for a momentum-shifting uppercut, but Holyfield stood firm, countered beautifully, and landed a devastating right hand that sent a shock through the arena. Tyson staggered. For a moment, the aura of invincibility shattered entirely. The crowd roared as Holyfield chased him to the ropes, unloading combinations, left hooks, straight rights, uppercuts, forcing Tyson to cover up and endure a barrage he hadn't felt in years. The bells saved him, but the damage was visible. The legs were shaky, the confidence cracked, the energy drained. The 10th round offered no relief. Holyfield boxed like a man possessed, not reckless, not wild, but purposeful, disciplined, relentless. Tyson's burst had faded. The once frantic pace slowed. Meanwhile, Holyfield's conditioning shined. He threw clean shots inside, pivoted off angles, and smothered Tyson's attempts to counter. Every exchange ended in Evander's favor. The commentators acknowledged it openly. Tyson needed a knockout. Nothing else would save him. By the start of round 11, Tyson looked exhausted, hurt, and lost. Holyfield, sensing the end, stepped forward with chilling intent. He fired a crushing right hand that buckled Tyson's knees. Another combination sent Tyson reeling into the ropes. The crowd rose, sensing history. Holyfield pounced, left hook, right hand, uppercut, each punch landing clean. each one closer to the finish. Tyson's legs betrayed him. His body folded, his spirit dimmed, and the referee stepped in to save him. The impossible was happening. Mike Tyson was being stopped. As the referee waved off the fight, the arena erupted into a sound more shock than celebration, a stunned roar that shook the rafters. Mike Tyson, the most destructive force of his generation, the man who had terrified the heavyweight division for over a decade, had just been stopped on his feet by an opponent many believed had no chance to last more than a few rounds. Evander Holyfield didn't run to the ropes, didn't scream in triumph. He simply lifted his gloves in quiet acknowledgement of a mission completed. This wasn't arrogance, it was peace, a champion's peace. He had done what the world said he couldn't. He had outboxed, outplanned, outwilled, and ultimately conquered the most feared fighter of the era. Tyson stood in shock, hurt, confused, blinking hard as the reality sank in. He had been beaten not by speed or strength, but by experience, intelligence, and unbreakable resolve. This wasn't a fluke. It wasn't luck. Holyfield had executed a perfect strategy from the opening bell: neutralize the storm, wear down the power, frustrate the rhythm, and drown the aggression in deep water. When the official announcement came, winner by technical knockout, the real deal, Evander Holyfield, the crowd finally exploded into full celebration. Holyfield embraced his corner, tears in his eyes, knowing this moment would echo forever. This wasn't just a victory. It was one of the greatest upsets in boxing history, a triumph of heart over hype. A reminder that styles make fights, that champions are measured not by predictions, but by what they do when the bell rings. Holyfield had walked through fire, stood before the most intimidating force in the sport, and emerged not just victorious, but legendary. And as the camera panned across the ring, Tyson recovering on his stool, Holyfield smiling through exhaustion, the crowd still buzzing in disbelief, it became clear this wasn't just a fight. It was a chapter in boxing mythology, a story that would live on forever.